Hi everyone, welcome to our very first Indiana University Kokomo Field Live podcast. If you're not familiar with Field, it's IUK's very own undergraduate journal of arts and sciences that showcases all of our students' work. It's been quite a journey this year, and we're really glad to have this opportunity to continue Field Live during the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, normally we would be hosting our Field live at the iuk Art Gallery downtown, and you'd get to hear from our contributors there. And then, we'd have like refreshments and we'd get to hang out one-on-one and things like that. We obviously can't do that this year. However, we are excited about getting to host our first podcast form of this event. And who knows, maybe in the future, this might become an addition to our traditional Field Live for those of you who can't make it. So to start off this podcast, I want to begin by introducing our executive board for this year. Starting with myself, hi, I'm Savannah Cooper. I'm Field's copy and associate editor. I'm an English major who is also minoring in communications. Some interesting things about me are that I'm a transfer student to IUK, so this is my first year here. And in my spare time, I like to write fantasy. What I'm most excited about for Field is getting to work with all of the writers to polish their pieces and make them the best they can.
And hello, I am Sadie Wilson, and I am Field's managing editor. I'm also a senior biology major and psychology minor, and in my free time, I like to write poetry and go camping. And I'm really excited this year to see all of the diverse work that students at IUK have to offer for our journal.
Okay, and I am Drew Thompson. I am currently the art director for Volume 6 this year. In my free time, I enjoy creating artwork and writing poetry. I'm most excited to see all the work that our peers have to offer at IU Kokomo, and I can't wait to put them in our new volume this year.
Yeah, the release of issue 5 has been an adventure to say the least, but we are so excited to finally get the amazing work from our contributors out to you guys. And today we have several of those contributors that are going to be discussing their work for us.
Yes, we have been working behind the scenes online through our Zoom sessions, not only to prepare for this podcast because it's the first ever, but to also put together issue 6 for our Field Journal. We are incredibly happy with how the last issue turned out, and we are excited to see what students of IUK will bring this upcoming issue as well.
So all of us on the executive board are super excited, and we hope you guys are too. So without further ado, we'd like to introduce our first contributor, Hannah Harrell, who will be discussing her art pieces. And if you're following along in Volume 5, they can be found on pages 66 and 74.
My name is Hannah Harrell, and I'm currently a junior at IUK, majoring in biology and minoring in psychology, with hopes of becoming an optometrist in the future. I have 4 pieces of work in this volume of Field. 2 of them are art, and then 2 of them are writings. My first art piece is titled Seafoam, which is an acrylic pour painting, where I mixed different blues, gold, and white paints together in a cup and poured them over a canvas. When I created this, it reminded me of waves crashing on the shore. These types of paintings are really fun to do because you never know how they'll turn out in the end. My other art piece was titled Queen Unleashed. It's inspired by one of my favorite bands, Queen, where Freddie Mercury was the star like he is in my painting. It is a mixed media piece where I layered papers with different patterns on them, and then I put gesso on top, which is like a putty that sticks up, and I put alcohol ink paints and a cutout of Freddy holding his crown up, and then I glued charms on top of that captured Freddy's life and musical abilities and also gave the painting a 3D effect. Some charms included a London double-decker bus to represent where he's from, a bicycle for one of his song titles, a clock for his short-lived life, unfortunately, a cassette tape and music notes, and a chain on his wrist to illustrate him breaking free to finally be himself, and also one of his song titles. My prose, titled St. Louis Muse, was inspired by my grandmother, who grew up in St. Louis, who now lives here, and she has always been a major part of my life. She is the one who taught me how to paint and always encourages me to be creative. So for this piece, her hometown roots became my muse, and it reads, My grandmother was born in the Gateway to the West, along the Mississippi River in the city of St. Louis, Missouri in 1944. It was a place where barges and steamboats brought goods and passengers to the city, where immigrants came to live in search of employment and happiness, where men and women over the age of 21 piled into dance halls, movie theaters, and bars to drink and enjoy themselves as they hoped to forget about the just-ended war. It was a place where the smell of hops coming from the Anheuser-Busch brewery was as bitter as their frothy beer, where Clydesdales meant the repeal of prohibitions as they filled the carriages with bottles of Budweiser and sent them down the red brick roads, where everyone looked forward to summers full of jazz music and barbecues in their backyard. It was a place where segregation, like a divider in a crown box, still occurred in schools, in bathrooms, and on buses, where the St. Louis Zoo was known for being a main attraction by bringing families of all ages to see exotic animals and to have an enjoyable time, and where the excitement of baseball fans when the Cardinals won the World Series against their town rivals was like children opening up presents in their pajamas on Christmas morning. My last piece is a poem titled 24, which was inspired by my high school trip to Washington, D.C., and it reads, The sun shines bright all day, the moon glows all night. They alternate when the time comes, switching roles like the changing of the guards at Arlington National Cemetery. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mercedes Wilson. I'm a senior biology major at iuk and a psychology minor. Outside of work and studying, I spend a lot of my spare time writing poetry and short stories. My favorite aspect of poetry is that it can be used to convey very raw emotion in a way that can often be left to interpretation by the reader, regardless of its original intention. A poem that I will be reading today was inspired by the horrors of sex trafficking and written in an effort to give dreams to millions of women and children who fight this battle every day. This poem is called Ugly Woman. My eyes close, and so it begins. The surface beneath me quakes, and I dream of the mountains I would move. The chilling touch of steel surges through my bones, and I dream of the warmth encased by my daughters. The moistened droplets landing on my skin, and I dream of dancing in the rain beneath my father's cherry tree. The hushed growls begin to heave, and I hear laughter as we glide through the streets. The voices call to me that I am beautiful, and I wish I was not. The hands reach for me that I come to them, and I wish for a God to go to. The calluses brush my skin, and I begin to dream. I dream that I am ugly. I dream that I am cold. I dream that I am home. My eyes open, the steel slams to a close, and so it ends only to begin again.
Hello everyone, I am Isaac Beachy. I am a junior at iuk and studying communication. I'm a wedding and portrait photographer, and in this journal I have two photos. The first one is called Shuffled Colors, and the idea behind this is I wanted to capture the fall trees, but in a different way, other than just having them being stagnant and still. So I did a long exposure with the water, which caused the reflection you see, and it really stood out to me because the other trees that weren't moving without leaves are still, while the fall trees have a lot of motion to them. I find that quite entertaining. My second photo, called Stuck in Time, is quite more simple, where I just got my macro lens and went out hiking in the woods and found this big spider, and so that is what you see. Thank you for listening.
Hello everyone, this is Drew Thompson again. I am going to talk about some of my illustrative poetry pieces I submitted to Volume 5 of Field. Most of my poetry, I like to highlight the mysterious yet minuscule moments in life. I feel that there are many extraordinary segments one can find in their ordinary lives if they choose to look. The first poem is titled Sweater Weather. Coffee stains all down my blouse. We stay connected with our mouths. Finger ripples down my spine. These chilly months are just fine. Dark dim shadows, it's 2:30. It's only you I want to pursue. For your eyes only, my heart on my sleeve. Let's pull the yellow thread and watch it unweave. The second poem is titled Young Love. Golden spiral down my neck. Touching you I won't regret. Gentle gaze in your eyes. Looking back with no surprise. I come in contact with your skin. Is this desire such a sin? Thank you, everyone.
Of English at IU Kokomo and editor-in-chief of Field. Thanks so much for listening to our first ever podcast edition of Field Live. If you'd like to be included in future editions of the Field podcast or print issue, the first step is to submit. We'd love to review your art, design, short films, music, prose, poetry, creative nonfiction, or research. You can find additional guidelines and submit your work at iuk.edu/field. If you have any questions or would like to reach out, you can email us at fieldpub@iuk.edu. That's FIELDPUB@iuk.edu. Huge thanks to all of our contributors for this podcast, Drew, Sadie, Isaac, Hannah, and Savannah. And thanks to Dan Hennig, Quan, Noir at Blancvie, Kevin McLeod, Brian Tu, and Tape Space for the music used in this issue. If you enjoyed this podcast or have suggestions for future episodes, please feel free to reach out. Until next time.